Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at an Evelyn VOD that I played, I believe today. Kinda getting late, so I'm not sure. But yeah, I played this game. It's a game played in around 200 LP master average MMR. It's my like 91 rates Smurf. And I'm going to be showing why getting behind on Evelyn doesn't really always mean that your game is just over. Like, just because you got a bit behind doesn't mean you have to instantly FF, like give up and just have a horrible mentality like most Evelyn players do. I would know because I've had that mentality also, and understandably so. But I'm going to showcase why that might not always be the best first approach. So today we're playing against the broken Xante guy again, because for some reason I always have to play against this champ. We're playing against Belvet, another new abomination. And yeah, so I'll start off with a quick rundown of every lane, because that might be useful. So for top lane, I'm not really sure how this goes, though I would imagine that Jax kind of beats Xante. But as I said, I'm not really sure. I think that the only time that Xante should beat Jax, if he does beat him, is probably sometime earlier on. Later on, he probably loses, but I have not played that either side of that matchup, so not completely sure. That's just my understanding of it. Mid lane, Syndra, Malzahar. I think Syndra is gonna have a pretty fine time. She can scale for free. Malzahar will also scale, but Malzahar will also get bullied. Should have prio for myself, at least at some points of the game. And that's about all I care about in mid lane. Bot lane, I think that the matchup is kinda interesting, because both of these bot lanes can kind of take over the game, but I think that my bot lane can take over the game a lot more than the enemy bot lane. And so it's a sort of interesting lane. This game I started top side, so let's see what happens really. Got a leash. And I chose to start top side because I don't really want to gank this Xante champ. He just resists my charm completely. And it just sounds like a pain really. So we're gonna fast forward for the first few minutes of the game. And here, what I recommend against most of these champions can invade you level 3 is while you do your Raptors, you walk up here and you ward this bush, and then you can never get cheesed by stuff like Rengar, stuff like Belvet, stuff like whatever else. Though I was streaming when I played this game, I was like talking a bit, chatting, and I didn't really pay attention, so I didn't ward. That's good. Now we have a great VOD where I made some kind of a mistake. So my mistake will cost me a lot. Not really much to be done here. If this happens, you just die. Okay. Now this is a disaster, right? Enemy jungle gets our buff, enemy jungle kills us. That's horrible for us. Though we do have one saving grace, which is that our bot lane somehow goes 2 for 1. Which is pretty decent. So now, the question now is, how are we going to fix this, right? So the enemy jungler has camps in bot side, and he has a scuttle coming up, and I have a scuttle here and here, right? And I have one camp here. So first of all, I don't really know if the enemy jungler is doing my camp, or if the enemy jungler is just going to his camps, or if he's just going to, like, I don't know, linger here, or whatever else. So I would like to contest my camp, because I'm not really interested in it getting completely stolen. Though after I see this, I'm thinking that the enemy jungle is so low HP that most likely I can at least contest a scuttle. My mid lane is even, so okay. My bot lane, like my support is recalling, so I'm like thinking, okay, well, this scuttle is not really attainable for me. I don't really care about it that much. And here I just like look for a gank mid, because why not? This guy's on our side of the lane. He's making a mistake. Okay, cool. We can get a free kill. My Syndra somehow failed her Q and her E, but I mean, happens. And that guy flashed way too late. Though we do have flash still, and our Syndra should have hit Q and E, so he should have been dead anyway. Okay, so we kind of made up for the issue, but not really. Enemy jungle is still ahead, right? Because enemy jungle can sequence his camps here. He can also like just recall after these camps, and he can go topside and do those camps. And he got a kill, so he is pretty big, pretty big. So we're still not out of the rough patch. Obviously, we're going to clear again, so that's fine, right? Even if top lane is somehow gankable, I really want to clear. Because I don't want to be in a position where I just have nothing the rest of the game. And then, because if you remember, we did the Krugs after we died, so our Krugs are going to be pretty delayed on the respawn. So going through river and looking for a bot lane gank could be pretty decent for us. This is a slow push for the enemy, so right now if our bot lane walks up, it's quite likely the enemy bot lane will also walk up. Because they will want to contest this, right? Like they don't want to let our bot lane just do whatever they want. So they're like going for this and okay, free kill for us, right? It's just that if the enemy jungle is not bot side, then there's no way that this is a bait. So if you just spend the time when you have nothing to do here, right? It's like fine. Because the basic rule is that if your team is slow pushing, then you look for a dive. And if the enemy team is slow pushing, then you look for a gank. If you're the jungler and you are looking for something to do, right? That's kind of the idea. Because slow pushing is a big thing in League. After that, I based and got my sword boots. And I believe I ran back bot side because my camp is here. And also because I wanted to contest Dragon in case that guy goes for it. Okay, we got that guy to back off. We're wasting some of his time. We miss a Q. It happens. We get a kill. Another one that just works out and it's cool. So now, due to our laners playing fine and enemy laners playing kind of badly, we are allowed to come back into the game. Because we're just at the right place at the right time to punish their mistakes when they play badly. Which is an important thing in League. When you fall behind, you're gonna have to like focus on trying to punish the enemy for what they do wrong. Here, like the enemy mid laner just decided to ult me, so whatever, it's fine, I'll run away, I'll flash away, it's fine, whatever. I didn't really want to do Dragon because I was also afraid of people coming, so I just did Scuttle before. Yeah, it happens. They overcommit on my mid though, so as you can see, this is an interesting play. My mid was... The reason that they keep going for this fight, I believe, is because they already used their stuff on my mid. And when they keep chasing me like this, like at some point, like right now, I think that they're like too overcommitted. So it's quite possible for my mid laner to just fight them and wait for the ADC to come and then like kill them. But the mid laner got hit by everything kinda. But it worked out anyway. Right now I kind of want to get level 6, but I'm not really sure if I can. And the issue is that if I get level 6 right now, I have 1k gold, and then I will buy some more, and I'll just be like really annoyed because I'll have like 1200 gold when I'm here, and this champion, which will always go for Herald, goes for Herald, right? Surprise Pikachu face. So I just thought, okay, well, if I recall, then I can do as many camps as I want, I can have my items already, and then I can just play with level 6, right? And because the enemy jungler decided, like, because this happened, right? If that guy took this plant and invaded me, he could actually have a maybe good chance of killing me, right? If he just found me here somewhere, I'm like half HP or something, I have no items, maybe he could kill me, who knows, right? But because I based and got items, and yet my one camp still gives me level 6, that means that now I level up with items, though sadly this does not kill him, which, believe me, I was very surprised that my 473 damage ability did 116 damage. But yeah, 70% damage reduction is a funny spell, I suppose. That's something I learned now, that I'll never ult this champion again if it's not like 100 HP. So that's like just something I'll remember. Right, like you try it once and you learn. Though this was not bad anyway, because now she's 1 HP and we can take her Hurl. And if you can take dragons and heralds and stuff from this champion, then she becomes quite useless, honestly. Belvat. So now we just do some camps, right? Classic Evelyn, do some camps. Enemy jungle keeps trying to fight us for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why. But, I mean, okay. Whatever, man. This is something that happens often on Evelyn. People will just like force fight you in your jungle because they start panicking. Like if she didn't do anything there and just cleared towards bot side and then, I don't know, got a gank off, like try to take dragon or something, like it could be interesting, but instead she just decided to do that and then she's just pretty meh. I'm kind of looking to get use out of my ult, that's why I keep like ganking and looking for enemies and whatever. Yeah. Here I wanted to stay around mid lane. The reason why I do enemy raptors, the biggest reason, I mean obviously taking enemy camp is like chill and fine, but the biggest reason is because I see that my mid laner is trying to stay and bully the enemy mid or whatever. And because of that, I'm thinking that I either want to do my raptors or enemy raptors, but I would prefer to just do enemy raptors because I'm denying enemy a camp at the same time. And I get to stay around mid lane, so if the enemy jungler like shows up, she can run to me and we're fine. That didn't end up happening. Okay, I'll just do the other raptors also. While I was doing the raptors, I saw that bot was fighting, so I decided, okay, why not go bot, right? Just collect some kills. Got another kill here, but I think I die. Okay. Maybe ulting for Ezreal wasn't really worth it, because I died to Malzahar. I don't think it was too bad, because my Syndra got 2 plates anyway, and I got a kill, so I'm kind of fine with it. Since the only objective on the map is bot side, and most of the people in the enemy team are bot side, I just run back bot lane after my recall. And since enemies are swapped, like oftentimes when enemies like swap like this, or like someone roams or whatever, oftentimes what happens is like at least someone on the map will stay with low HP and try to push out an extra wave so they crash, and then so they can like swap with good HPs, good mana, whatever, right? But because they try to do that, I can pick if I want to go bot or mid, and I would probably get a kill regardless of which one I want to. Because in this scenario, both of them were a bit lower HP. Nothing to really say here, it's just clearing. I went Night Harvester this game because I think someone asked me to go it, so I was just like, okay, sure. This is part of me believing that items are kind of cope. I don't think it really matters too much. I think Night Harvester is pretty good in lower elo because it allows you to snowball even more. Like if you're already like 10-0 at, I don't know, 10 minutes, it doesn't really matter if you go Night Harvester or Rocket Belt for damage, but Night Harvester has more utility, and the utility will allow you to carry more. So I think that if you're, I don't know, like one whole rank below the rank you're actually in skill level, so say that you're like a Diamond 4 player, but you're playing like Plat 4, I think it's still acceptable for you to go with if you're snowballing. But I think if you're playing in your main elo, you should just stick to Rocket Belt mostly, because Rocket Belt is just more consistent, and the higher elo you go, the better it is. But yeah, as I said, Night Harvester is just a good item to carry with in lower elos. This is like a 200 LP game, so if I'm ahead, I'm pretty confident that I'm gonna win it, because most of the time, as I've mentioned before in other videos, I have like an 80 or a 90 win rate in the elos on Evelyn, so I don't really feel too pressured by it. So we got a chill fight. I wanted to fight because if I fight, then I can make sure I get Herald without having to fight at Herald. And since I get Herald, the enemy's jungle champion becomes even worse yet again. And now I would just say that this game is pretty much won. Obviously, you can run with your team here in the mid lane, but your team should really just back off. There is no real reason for you to get forced to just keep running with your teammates the whole time. So I would prefer to just do some camps. Though at this point, I did see that they were having a bit of a fiesta, and I have ult, so I don't really mind making a play. I think if you have ult on Evelyn, you should look for a play. And if you don't have ult, then you should prioritize farming. That's like the general rule. Obviously though, if there are free kills on the map, then just take them, and if there's nothing to do, don't just force something because of ult. But generally that's about what I would go for. I think my whole team was in base here, so yeah, as you can see, like 2 of my players are in base, 1 of my players is top lane, and only my support is mid when Dragon is spawning. So at this point, I'm just thinking, well, I don't really want to fight for Dragon in a 3v4 at best, so it's whatever, really, man. On Evelyn, if you give up the first 2 dragons, that is acceptable, but just make sure you try to get like the third one. Third, fourth, you want to make sure you get those. Second is pretty good to get, but if it's not happening, it's just not happening. These are just like random fights. Only thing to really take away here is the choices. I try to flank. If it doesn't work, okay, I'll just go front to back. It's fine. This champion has a really interesting game design where he dashed over the raptor wall and then back over the raptor wall again, which is a pretty cool design, I would say. Thank you to Riot Games for that one. Quite a big fan. Here I believe that the reason I spawned the Herald is because I think it was 1 timing out, and 2 I kind of wanted it to just go to a side lane while we take Baron. But I don't know. That wasn't really part of the plan, I guess. I think I also had to base for Rabadon's. I think, wait. Yeah, I based for like a full Rabadon's. Like here I had 3,400, but then I just sold my Amp Tome for Rabadon's because I wanted to do Baron at 20 minutes. But not really possible, I guess, because I don't know, my mid laner is dead now and my top laner is like half HP. So okay, I'll look for picks then. Here it's a pretty cool mechanic you have where, like, in this game, I'm going to both be showcasing the mechanic where you let enemies pass. Like, this is not really letting enemy pass, this is just avoiding the enemy you don't want to fight. And also, like, the mechanic where you try to find, like, a really good spot where you try to hide between enemies and just pick a good opening, right? Like, here, this guy has a sweeper, so I'm playing, like, up, and this guy also activated a sweeper, so I have to go now. But in general, I just wanted to look for an opening where Nami can no longer flash away anywhere, right? I don't know if she had flash, because I think it was like either up or it was pretty close. But either way, if I wait for her to come closer, then she can't flash anywhere, and she's just dead. I think taking inhib here would be pretty good if it's possible. We'll see if it is. I have PTSD from the last Evelyn VOD that I posted where Xander just one-shot me 20 times in a row, so you'll never see me walk up to this champion again without having my ult and without him being charmed. Even though he's 4 and 5. I don't know. That champion is something else. We took inhib, so I'm quite happy here. And we are getting TP'd on, but enemy can't really fight like this. This doesn't work. So right now, since we took all of this stuff, and our team is low, they're probably going to try to base, and I kind of want to kill enemy ADC. But sadly, I misplayed and I took an extra tower shot, so I actually end up dying to the demon champ. Crazy. This was just a pure misplay by me in terms of how I played the fight, so yeah. Honestly though, I would just say that flashing on an ADC, if you're fed, is never worth it in Evelyn, you should never do it. I only do it because I hate ADC players, I'll be honest with you. I don't know, every time I see that roll on my screen, I am so mad. I just want to kill it. I don't know why. It's like an instinct, you know? But I also play ADC myself, and then I try to kill the enemy ADC, you know? It kind of makes sense. Okay. So now I know my teammates for some reason wanted to take inhibs here, but I think that doing Baron and Dragon into Baron is pretty good. But they really wanted to like force a fight here somehow, and then I don't know, like take inhib for whatever reason. Though unless the enemy team all dies, we can't really end with the inhib, so I don't really get the point of it, but yeah. Here I just wanted to chunk with my ult, but Ezreal flashed, so it is what it is. We ended up killing most of the enemies anyway. But the fight just never ends, apparently, because in Mastery, the fights can never end. This champ is demonic a bit, but yeah. This is also an advantage of having Harvester, because when you're fed on Harvester, your ult, your combos kill anyway. But look, like my ult is 60-second cooldown, and my Q is 2.7, and it takes me around 2.5 seconds to use all of my Qs anyway, so every time I end up using up my Qs, I get my Q back up again, so it's pretty fine. Some people might think that taking Ult Hunter is good, but Ult Hunter is just bad. That rune is just terrible. I don't like that rune at all. I think losing Relentless and... honestly, losing any rune in the Hunter tree for Ult Hunter is not that nice. So I just don't really value that. I think Ult Hunter is fine if you play like Evelyn mid or something, because you need mana then in your items. But otherwise, I don't know, in jungle I wouldn't really go it. That champion's cool. I was so mad that he lived that I ulted for fun. Or well, not for fun, like I ulted because I was mad. But the thing is, if you ult here, then you kill him anyway, if you ult into this. But I didn't really want to ult into this. I thought it's fine if I like Q and smite. But then I realized he's just alive and I was like, wow. Depression, man. Depression. Here my support was really adamant about doing inhib, but never ever get baited by stuff like this. Because stuff like this is the same, like, it's the same kind of thing that made the enemy team like feed me after I was 0-1. Like I was behind, my game was gonna be really rough, but then they just fed me. And here I could just do the same thing. I just give my 1k shutdown, I give my Magi, and suddenly, like, game is a lot more playable for enemy. But don't really hit inhibs as Evelynn if you don't have ult and you're unsure of enemy TPs. Like, I thought enemy TP might be up. This guy did have TP. TP's behind, and imagine if I was just sitting here hitting the fucking inhib. Could be a disaster. But I didn't really want to do that. My team ended up fighting them anyway. Happens a bit. You know what they say. Can't all play perfect. It's not like you lack damage either against most of these champions. Like, for example, here, if I have Rocket Belt, what does it really help me with? I mean, it's a bit easier to kill these two. But for these three, it doesn't really change anything except me having Rocket Belt active to kill Malzahar passive. It's just pretty nice to be... But as I said, if you go high reload, it becomes less and less viable. Have to flash on my arch nemesis. And I really want to see who this guy ulted here. I don't know if he ulted my ADC or if he ulted me as I ulted. I think he ulted my ADC. Yeah, he did. As I said, I won't fight this champ unless I ult. That champ is... Jesus Christ, man. Jesus fucking Christ. And then we end the game. But as I said, this is just a common thing where the reason that Evelynn players lose a lot after this happens is just a lot of it is tilt. Like, if you die once on Evelynn, it's not really game over. It's just that a lot of people perceive it as game over. Really, if you die like 3 times in a row, yeah, this is game over. Usually that's gonna be GG. If you're not playing some build like, I don't know, Rocket Belt and then like some replacement for Magi, I don't know, like some AP item and then you play like Rabadons or something, I don't know. In that case, dying 3 times might be okay still. It might be, but if you play Magi at all, or if it's like early deaths, then it's probably gonna be GG most of the time. 2 deaths is pretty rough. 1 death is not really the end of the world at all. Like 1 death is just tilt. 1 death is just tilt. The main thing that happens after 1 death is you just tilt and then you die again, and then it's like really bad. But obviously, not dying at all is the best. But sometimes you have to die anyway. Sometimes if you try not to die too hard, then you're going to fall even more behind. Yeah. At this point, as an educational point, I will say what the enemy jungle really should have done to snowball his lead. As the enemy jungle, I would prefer to take this, that's fine. Running here, whatever, nice try. But now I would highly prefer if the enemy jungle just did some camps. I would not prefer to do the Evelynn Scruggs because dying to the enemy support and Evelynn would be disastrous. So I'd probably just go for one of my camps. I wonder if he did that with or without flashing. I'll see. If he did this, but without using flash, I think this would have been good, but trading flash is not that good, I think. But I think this is a pretty good idea. I think if you see a play like this, that's like pretty decent also. And this is fine. Fine to take all your camps. Basing is good. Then you do these. It's also fine. But like, notice how the enemy jungler isn't pinging at all, right? Like, he didn't ping his mid laner, he didn't ping his bot lane. And yet, these plays are really, really obvious by me, right? Because if you think about what the Evelynn is doing, once these Krugs are gone, it's like, okay, like, I either did Krugs or I did Scuttle. If I did Krugs or Scuttle, either way, my main play there was mid lane, right? Like here, regardless of which side I'm on, my main play is mid lane. He even uses this this plant and spots me. But if he pinged the mid laner earlier, then the mid laner probably backs off. And the mid laner, I think he has TP, so I'm quite sure he has TP, so you can just base and TP. Yeah, like he did. He TP'd. Because you can't really know either if I'm doing whatever. Like if I just Scuttle anyway, I will show up mid as well. So either way, the mid laner has to base and TP. And the next play is like really obvious also, because after doing all of that, I'm going to clear my camps. And then, okay, I mean, I have some gold, but like it's not like I'm gonna base after Raptors, right? I mean, I might, but I might also do this, which would be pretty good to ping. But we don't do that. He looks for something, but there's like no Raptors and whatever. And this fight is just bad. Like the fight is just bad. Let's see. Like this guy isn't really gonna die unless Ezreal does something, I guess. And since Ezreal does this, it just doesn't work. But okay. So what else can we do? Do the camp. Base after. Okay. Mid lane calling for a play. Sure. This is fine also. But now we kind of need to back off. And this works out pretty well. So now both teams have hinted a bit. He also gets like a free kill. Okay, it's something. And he gets also his form. That's like the biggest thing here. But the issue is you're playing with 400 HP. And playing with 400 HP is going to be a bit difficult. So he does this, but he should have died for this 10 out of 10 times. For what he did this here, because this is just grief. At least take the plant before. If you take the plant before, maybe I can understand it. But like this, meh. So then he's stuck clearing. But then he decides to invade again. But honestly, as I said, this is just like a very uncalculated invade. Because the issue is that it's not like enemy team is so far behind that he just has to do this. Like, okay, his mid is a bit behind. He was like pretty much even. Yeah, he was even a bit ahead in XP. It's not like that's an issue for him. And his top lane is like 100 gold behind. Overall, the game is 1k gold in our favor, but still very manageable. But if you do stuff like this, I mean, one mistake like this, and suddenly now, like after he did that, I was just thinking, well, there's no way that enemy wins now. And imagine if he didn't do that, but his bot lane like 2v2 killed anyway. His bot lane got a 2v2 kill. And this happens and it's just disaster. And after this, I believe the game is just over. But the issue is that while you might think that the enemy jungler didn't play too bad, he didn't make too many mistakes early on at least. Later on, he made like some pretty big mistakes, probably due to tilt. But the main issue is that while he doesn't have negative impact, so he's not really like hinting or making big mistakes or something, he doesn't have positive impact either. Because, okay, he killed me, but that's like just a small lead on him. Or, well, it's like a sizable lead, but it's a lead only on him. Like, it doesn't help his laners in any way, really. And then he doesn't communicate, so his laners just die because his laners aren't very good at the game. My laners are also not very good at the game. But my laners didn't need to be skill checked. Like, he didn't really check if they would die or not. And after that, the question is, okay, so shit, I dropped something. After that, the question is, what do we do? Okay, we can like do nothing and we can like chill a bit and then we can look for a good play. But no, he did like some rage plays, some tilt plays, and suddenly the game was just lost for him, right? So even though we both made some mistakes, even though you might say that our laners are pretty similar, honestly, because it's not like anyone was really blown out of the water completely in the complete early stages of the game. Like, it's not like here, it's not like anyone is just completely demolishing the other people, right? Like, this is a 1-for-1 in mid and top, and the only difference is like 10 CS, and in jungle it's pretty even also. And in mid lane, the main difference is from that fight that happened before, where the Malzahar ulted me and then we fought in mid and Syndra got a kill and whatever. So that's like the main difference that happened in mid lane. And in bot lane, the main difference is that fight where Ezreal just died because they overcommitted. But most of these fights are also because he allowed his lanes to have too much impact. Like, he, one, doesn't communicate with the laners to stop them from dying, and two, he also like plays fights in a way where his laners aren't sure if they should go in or not. And if you play fights like that and the fights aren't winnable, if your laners go in, like, they're going to just lose. Like, that's the thing, because those fights weren't really winnable. Right? Like, how are you winning this? Okay, no, this was like the other thing. How are you winning this fight? Like, what do you want them to do? Like, this guy has nothing, this guy has nothing, and you have nothing. So it's not like this fight was like winnable, but oh, happens. Obviously, what he did isn't inherently really bad. Like, it's not like he's dead. He's like fine. He's still alive. He can dash out and he's fine. And if the Ezreal walks away, it's fine, right? But the issue is just that if you allow your teammates to make mistakes, they will make mistakes. And we're not really trying to find out who should have won. We're not trying to find out like who made the most mistakes. We're just trying to learn how we can avoid losing as both junglers. So I think that's the main thing that I would say that the enemy jungle could do to avoid losing this game, right? Meanwhile, the main things that I could do to avoid losing these games are, well, first of all, ward here, but if I don't ward here, then don't tilt and try to make the best of it, right? So that's all for today's video. This is gonna show the importance of mental. And also, actually, I'm going to show one more thing before we end it today. If you played 100 games and you griefed 1 game out of 10 games, right? That means that 90 of your games are winnable. Like, let's just say that when you grief, it's 100% loss, right? So 90 out of 100 games are winnable. And if we want to keep a win rate of, say, 60%, which is going to be steady climbing pretty fast, right? That means we need 60 wins out of 90 games now, because we don't actually have 100 games. And because that's happening, if we do this, we need a 66 win rate. 66.6. And this is the true importance of mental, not griefing, not typing, and so on. Because these win rates are just insane. Like, I go for win rates of, say, like as I said, like 80, 90 in up to at least Master, right? If you want a 90% win rate on 100 games and you grief 1 out of 10 games, like you don't try to win and you make it a loss, you have to win every single game that you play and you try to win. And if you want to win 80% of your games, like you need an almost 90 win rate. So griefing, tilting, typing, stuff like that, it's just not worth it. I do it sometimes, mostly because I don't really try too much to climb. And mostly I climb even if I do it. But no matter who you are, like even for myself, it's not an excuse, because for myself it lowers the elo that I can get, and it also makes me play more games. Because if I turn chat off in 50 games on Master, if I turn chat on, I'll need 100 games or more. It's just not a good thing to do, and that's why I recommend that you really do focus down on the mental aspect of the game and just try your best. And one thing that can help is, when I used to care even less about this game than I do right now, what I would do is I would play other games, say like Wizard 101 or something, right? And I would play them during the game, and I would just alt tab to the game between camps. I would sometimes look at my minimap, right? I would find out where enemy jungle started. I would at the end of my clear, I would look and I would check to see what's possible for me to do on the map and stuff like that, right? And doing that, I still had a 70% win rate on an account that was Master or something. I don't know what it was exactly. I think it was low Master. And what that showed me really is that if I don't overthink the game, if I don't psych myself out, if I don't tilt from, I don't know, watching others play, if I don't blame my teammates, if I don't do all of that pointless stuff, then I will get at least that. But sometimes I would lose more games than that while not alt-tabbing the whole game. And the reason for that was because I would overthink the game. I would think that helping everyone was necessary. For example, when I showed that I just decided to farm, even though my laners were here and fighting, you could just run there. But the problem is that if you're trying to play and you're trying to help every single lane, who's going to help you? You're not gonna farm. Your help on every single lane is going to be questionable, because it's not like you can play every side of the map. If you play every side of the map and the enemy jungle only plays one side of the map, then that one side of the map enemy jungle will win on, right? And once he's winning on that one side of the map, you can't keep playing on that one side of the map, because you just keep losing there. If you're playing 1/3 of the time on that side of the map, you're gonna keep losing there. And at some point, him playing that one side of the map is going to make that one side of the map huge. But what do you have? You have 2 sides of the map that you played 1/3 of the time each. And those 2 sides might be a bit ahead, but they're not 10-0. But if he played only for one lane, that lane might be 10-0. And what do? Probably just lose. That's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed the video, like or subscribe. And yeah, see you next time.